Hello, everyone. It's my fantastic pleasure to introduce Lisa Wallace and Madeline Keene, and they're here to talk about their book, Embrace, Stories of Humor, Humanness, and Hope. Lisa, what inspired you to write this wonderful book? And I read it, and it is a very, very wonderful book.
Thank you. Well, obviously Madeline inspired me to write the book. Madeline has some diverse abilities. And so last year we were in a year of transition, moving from adulthood, teenage years, moving from teenage years and high school into adulthood and university. And we were...
So at that point you thought, I want to write the story, or?
Well, we were experiencing some unique situations, and so I just started journaling. And through that process realized that I have an older daughter, Lauren, and started to sort of compare what Madeline was experiencing with what Lauren had gone through, and realized that there are a lot of myths out there about people with diverse abilities. And so in writing and journaling, I realized, we've kind of conquered those myths and debunked those myths. So I started just journaling and writing, and then thought, well, maybe that's something that other people would be interested in reading.
Well, and it's a whole life history through here. So lots of funny stories, endearing stories. Maddie, what did you think of the book?
I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed explaining about how I ended up with my diverse abilities from birth to adulthood, and how I dealt with it as I went along through my life.
Some very interesting stories in there, and some funny stories too. What did you think was one of the funny stories?
Well, one of the funny stories was me and my mom and my sister went skiing up at Manning. I've been skiing there since I was 5, and my sister's been skiing there since she was 7.
Wow.
So we've been skiing a really long time. My sister pointed out a tree well and that she wanted to ski down through. And I was like, oh, that looks tricky, but I was as curious as I was, wanted to follow her. So what happened?
So I remember reading that part, and you got all sweaty trying to drag Maddie out. Yeah, some funny stuff.
Yeah, it was definitely, because then I fell into the tree well instead of going through it properly. And I had to take off my skis, had to crawl up the slope kind of like a crab, like on my
oh my gosh,
all fours, like a dog or a crab.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It's a big commitment to write a book. How long did it take you to write? Like for those of us who haven't written a book, which is probably a lot of the audience, including myself, what was the commitment to, what was involved?
So I started journaling last October, and then went into the publishing phase in about March, and then spent all of the summer doing the editing and proofreading. And then my bonus son, Kieran, he did the design, the cover design, and Madeline did all of the artwork within the book.
Oh, that's beautiful. Good job. Yeah, look at that.
And then we were finished and published end of September. So almost a year.
Yeah, and I ordered it on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon, and I understand locally at Nuggets. So hop on down to Wellington at Nuggets and get the book there. Now, a lot of ups and downs, a very positive story overall. What were some of the frustrations that you experienced, not in the book, but in the life history here that is covered in the book?
I think the biggest... As a family, we always come from the perspective of do our best until we know better. And then when we know better, the responsibility is to do better. So that's how we that's how we've kind of viewed the world and lived our life, is that we just assume that everybody's coming from a positive place. And through our experiences, we just take it upon ourselves to share our stories so that we can teach and so that people can learn from what we've experienced. I would say the biggest thing has been sort of that tireless advocate for things that Madeline needs, and
that you needed to be, but really the whole family.
The whole family
is,
the whole
that totally comes
extended
across.
Family, that we all were just advocates for what she needs, but also for inclusion as a whole, and seeing those situations where we can work and problem solve together. And I think that's one of the things that we've learned, and the skills that we've honed is our problem solving, and just that positive problem solving. Like if somebody says, you know, that can't be done, our perspective is always, we think it can, we just need to think creatively and innovatively.
Well, I mean, what I think most about the book was it was such an easy read, because I very quickly got into your story, and it really felt like you made us understand what your journey was like. There was negative things, there was positive things, there were some funny things. Maddie, your first job, can you tell us about what happened there? Because it's in the book, but we'll share a little bit.
Well, my first job is we've been dropping resumes. Me and my support worker have been dropping off resumes. My support worker from Teen Club, she went with me, along with me, and we dropped off resumes everywhere at places that I would love to work at. And finally, after a while, McDonald's had an open interview thing.
Oh, that's cool.
So I said to my support worker, well, we should go in and try. And
good for you.
To see what's going on. And so I went in, and I basically what I did was I said I would like to apply here. And they said, great, just go get yourself comfy, find a seat, and I will be right there to interview you.
Good. And so you had the interview, and how did that go?
Oh, the interview went really well. They said I was doing a great job at answering the questions, and then basically what they did was they hired me on the spot.
Oh my gosh.
And gave me the paperwork and everything, and explained like I have to sign all this and hand it in.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow. There's so many other stories in the book as well. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, and that was a huge learning experience for us, because we sort of flipped the script on that, because we had at that point always thought, oh, Madeline needs the skills before she applies for these jobs. So we were being very careful in the jobs that she was applying to. And at that moment, when they hired her on the spot, we realized that the opportunity sometimes presents itself, and then the skills come afterwards.
You were very introspective in that way. I noticed, you admitted that you were kind of a lot of times sort of finding your way, and Maddie would sometimes lead, and you would kind of follow what she was doing, which I thought was really interesting. Yeah. In terms of for the reader, what do you hope when you wrote this book? What do you hope people get from your story?
I guess I hope that people will look at this as an opportunity to learn, and embrace diversity. Maybe question their perspectives on things, and look at the fact that all people have diverse abilities. We all do. And so really people are people. And so when we embrace diversity, we are making our world that much more interesting, and that diversity is to be embraced, not to be fixed. So when we move forward with that open mindset and that open heart, we build very rich communities.
Well, and you've taken a big step with this book, because it just makes your story accessible, and people with similar stories, it makes it accessible for those of us that haven't had that experience. So I really encourage you to go down to Nuggets on Wellington, pick up the book and have a read. And I'm just going to say thank you to the audience for watching, and I'm going to ask you both to autograph my copy.
Of course we will.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And we'll see you next time.